So the country is grappling with the second wave of COVID-19, and there are real concerns about super spreader events, devastating religious communities in particular. Recently, the Catholic Church lost a number of nuns from gatherings, and I'm joined now to discuss this by Cardinal Wilfrid Napier. Cardinal, thank you very much for your time. I just want to speak about the sort of gatherings within your church. Have they all been according to the guidelines and the protocol of what has been imposed just recently by the President, but also prior to that, which was a maximum, I think, of 500 people outdoors and 250 indoors?
Yes. Sally, to the best of my knowledge, when we opened up the churches again, we stuck very closely to the regulations that had been put before us. In fact, just to give you an example of here in the Archdiocese of Durban, we have 7 deaneries, and on a regular basis, I and the Chancellor of the diocese would meet with the deans over Zoom in order to discuss with them what the situations were in their different areas, and also to pass on to them the message of just how important it was to explain clearly and carefully and simply to the people what the procedures would be in order to keep oneself safe. As we came down the ladder of levels of alert, like from 5 to 4 to 3 to 2 and then down to 1, people started relaxing their guard. I've just driven through part of Durban this afternoon. If 1 in 50 people was wearing a mask, it was a lot. And half of them were wearing the mask under their chins. They weren't wearing them properly. So I think the message has been somehow not got through that this thing can be controlled, and it's in our hands how we control it. The events that took place, as far as I know, down at Assisi, it's in another neighboring diocese, Marianhill, is an annual event where the sisters come from various convents in different parts of mainly the diocese of Marianhill, but also Durban, and they gather for things like the profession of vows, and also for the Jubilees. These are the 2 main events. And they come together with the sisters from different parts of the diocese, and also their families would come and join them as well. So it wasn't a huge event as far as I know. It was within the numbers of the time when it took place, 8th of December, would have been still under the 250 for internal and 500 for external celebrations.
And how many nuns died after that, after contracting COVID, potentially at that event?
The bishop who's running the Diocese of Marianhill has just informed me that 9 sisters died in 11 days. They were all 75 up to 80-something in age, so it was the old age sisters that have died. But there are 20-something other sisters who are quite tested positive, and 8 of them are quite sick. So it does still seem as if this is quite a serious situation.
And you know, are you convinced that all protocol was observed in terms of COVID-19 for so many people? 9 sisters to have died within 11 days of that event, and 20 others now testing positive. Doesn't that suggest that perhaps protocols were not in place as they should have been?
I think possibly, you know, you're in a community, you're living in the same community, you're living day and night, it's like in a family. Do families wear masks all the time when it's just the family together? I suspect that was what happened. And people coming from another community where they felt safe and relaxed their guard. I suspect that's what has happened.
You know, Christmas time, and we are, 4 days away, it's on Friday. It's a time when many people want to go to church, even people who might not attend church during other times of the year. And it is a very difficult loss. This is a year where Easter festivals and Easter gatherings were also cancelled. It is very hard to explain to people of faith that they must not gather. What within the Catholic Church are you doing to convince people that they have to be to stay safe at this very difficult time?
First of all, Sally, as I said, we have the structure of deaneries. So there's one priest in charge through whom all the others in that area, the parishes that are under that dean, would be informed as to what they can and cannot do. And in fact, before they opened the churches, we made sure that everyone knew exactly what was needed to be done, that they had a compliance officer in place, that before every church service, there was a team of people to prepare the church. After each church service, the same would be done. And so and no one would be allowed to open their church unless they satisfied the dean that the requirements were all being met. We have carried that forward since then. So I think as far as the Christmas celebrations are concerned, I know of 5 parishes where there's been quite a severe outbreak within the area. They've cancelled all services. So the priests are taking a serious responsibility over this, not to be part of the spreading of becoming a super spreader of the virus.
It's also a difficult time for many who've lost loved ones this year due to COVID-19 and, of course, other losses. What is your message of faith in these very difficult times?
One of the clearest messages, I think, is something that a very, very good preacher of many years ago, Fulton Sheen, an American cardinal, he ended up as. And he used to say, one of the saddest things is not so much that people have to suffer so much, but that suffering is allowed to be wasted. And so his advice, and I pass that advice on myself, when you're suffering, associate yourself with the suffering of Jesus on the cross. I don't think there was any suffering as intense as that. So if you associate that your suffering with the suffering of Jesus, then you're putting your suffering to some kind of useful application. And in that way, it will relieve you knowing that by your suffering, you're helping other people to gain salvation. That's one of the messages. I think the other one is we're a church of hope, and that's what we've got to do. But in order to build up that hope, we've got to build up fraternity and friendship among us, where every person must feel that they belong to somebody, that somebody cares about them. Otherwise, I don't think our religion, our practice of religion, is really having an impact on people.
Thank you so much for your thoughts this evening. We do appreciate it. That was Cardinal Wilfrid Napier of the Catholic Church in Southern Africa.